How's it going, everyone, and welcome to, I guess this is an episode No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Artist Still.
Fenarian.
And Wallace L, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, or we would if there had been any.
There's
which
nothing.
There hasn't. This has been the deadest week in quite some time, and I know we complain about it being pretty dead, pretty regularly, but wow.
Yeah.
We got in an early start and started looking for stuff like 2 hours ago.
We found 3 or 4 news slits that we would normally spend 2 minutes on as quick announcements.
Because normally we troll for things throughout the week and then we collate them before the show and decide what ones we think are worth talking about. But nobody got anything during the week. And the sort of stuff that we put in the show host channel to talk about, they're the leavings. They're not. There's not really anything worth discussing. So we're going to have to rough it and do what we can. But yeah, might be a short show. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com. Or you can join us and follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or join us in the Discord server by basically clicking the Discord link in the video description or going to our homepage at vtwproductions.com and clicking on the No Excuses logo on any of our recent show hosts, and you can join the Discord server.
Yes, indeed. So, on the stream today, I'm playing a bit of Oxygen Not Included again. The thing came out of early access a few weeks ago, and I haven't actually looked at it since then. Yeah, I know, we're kind of in the doldrums of actual streamable games at the moment as well. This time of year is just bad for gaming.
This time of year is bad in general.
I don't know that that's true. Like, we only really get the up-to-date news about games that are in, like, on the Western market in English. Maybe it's not so bad in Japan, for all I know. Like, around now is Comiket. There's lots of interesting stuff happening in Japan.
Yeah,
I don't know about any of it. So,
all right. So yeah, we've got a whole lot of really good games kind of just over the horizon in September. Well, we would if half of them weren't, Epic exclusive. Oh, and Oxygen Not Included just crashed. Okay. This is a good start. This is great.
Yep.
Let's just try that again. Alright, so I guess we'll just plow straight through into weeks, and I've just got a whole pile of little nuggets. They're not even nuggets.
Nugget.
Yeah, not even nuggets of news.
We're at the sub-nugget level.
We are sub-nuggety. So, try to catch up on a bit of anime. Sat down and finished off watching Isekai Quartet, which is still incredibly dumb.
Well, think about who's involved, really.
Yeah, a mashup of 4 isekais, and then right at the end, they threaten us with a second season.
I'm not sure if that was a sincere threat or not.
I have no idea. I'm still trying to pick where they the main teacher's from too, or which university he's from.
I presumed that he was from the ReZero one, since that one I don't know at all.
Yeah, I don't know ReZero either. They at least
I-
made the ReZero characters goofy.
I forgot who's even in that show. To be honest,
Yeah,
it was not exactly memorable.
it's a mashup of Overlord, Konosuba, ReZero, and Tina the Terrible.
The Saga of Tanya the Evil and
Tanya. Yeah.
Konosuba and Overlord, I know all of the characters from those ones, so it's not any of those. So I presume that he's from ReZero, but
Let me see.
yeah, I don't know. I'm glad people have finally started to slow down talking about that one, because it can't possibly be as good as everyone says. The last time people talked about a series at the same sort of length as they talked about ReZero was Sword Art Online. So
Yeah. Just going down the cast list. Roswell is ReZero. Here he is. So yes. So it was a good dumb time just to sit down and watch something completely and utterly mindless. Tanya the Evil, I think, is still kind of an odd choice to put in there, because that's not a dumb, light-hearted isekai in any stretch.
But
No.
it has a concept that's ripe for exploitation.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's true to some extent. Like, if you want to put like the odd duck into the group, because it's very easy for the cast of the other three to devolve into goofballs,
Yeah.
but not so much for Saga of Tanya the Evil, which I thought was only mediocre at best to begin with. Like, I don't think the characterization was all that great, especially considering how little time they gave anyone who wasn't Tanya.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I've
maybe the
never-
source material is better, but the anime wasn't that great.
Never made it very far into it. I got distracted by something.
Yeah. But it was nice just to see, you know, the ReZero. I just cannot bring myself to watch ReZero. It was nice to see Ainz and his crew at least set down and become the big giant goofballs that they had the potential to be. After that,
Yeah.
I tried to catch up on Black Clover and made a terrible, terrible mistake.
You just picked the best places to drop back into those long runners.
I know. Yeah, like with Fairy Tail, it was Night of the Living Men. With Black Clover, it was the Charmy episode. Which is, I guess, just a mashup of all the little end of manga sketch comics. Done to the
Yeah,
pretense of Charmy on shrooms.
To be fair, I feel like Black Clover has been one of the better series at not having an excessive number of recap episodes,
Mm-hmm.
because some have really been bad in the past.
Dragon
Kill la Kill
Ball.
for best recap episode.
Eh.
I think that Recreators had the best recap episode.
Well, Kill la Kill didn't have a recap episode. For those who didn't know, it had a recap intro before the opening even played that lasted a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you can get away with a recap episode like the one in Recreators because it's actually entertaining and it's got new material. Like, maybe the material happening in the background isn't new, but the voiceovers are all new.
I do have
But,
to say I've got a soft spot for the recap episode in Slime Time.
I never actually got around to watching that. I skipped it because I usually skip recaps these days.
It's basically the Veldora the Sundre dragon cheating at Shogi.
Oh
Right.
right, him and Infert play chess or shogi inside Rimuru, and they recap what happened.
Yeah. And Veldora's just making up new pieces on the fly. Because that's totally how Shogi works.
I know how shogi works because I played Yakuza.
Yeah, don't do that. That just proves you're a crazy person.
Yakuza can teach you a whole lot of games from the East that you didn't know how to play. If you want that play.
So, on the topic of Black Clover, I still have to actually wonder, what exactly is the point of Charmy?
I presume that it's comic relief.
this really irritating little chibi thing that walks around and eats all the food. That's her whole shtick.
I mean, to be fair, she seems to punch way above her weight whenever she has to actually fight somebody.
Yeah, which has happened maybe twice. She's the
Well, I think-
second in command, I believe.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure they have much of a hierarchy.
No, you've got Yami at the top and everybody else.
Well, I think it's Yami, the toilet, and then everybody else.
Yeah, that's actually probably more like it. So, and just finished the Royal Knights audition arc, which was a good time, and introduced a whole bunch of new characters and a whole bunch of completely useless characters, as they usually do in these types of shows.
The surprising number of what I thought were going to be throwaways ended up showing up again in the next arc.
Like, what's her name? Pooley.
I don't remember who.
The very loud, large woman.
Oh, yeah, yep, she came back.
Yeah, she comes
She
back,
reappears.
unfortunately. Because the first thing she does is sing,
Yeah.
if you can call that singing. So yeah, that's been the bulk of my anime this week, I suppose. I'm trying to catch up on all this other stuff, so going through and just knocking over older stuff, which I have not been able to do.
Yeah, the current arc for Black Clover is sort of like, it seems to be the major crisis.
Yeah, it's let's take on the big bads in their base.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't end up going quite as simple as that. Every single beat, though, is still pretty much pinched from Naruto. So if you've watched Naruto, you can see the way things are going in most turns.
Yeah, Black Clover does
there
not
are
do
only
anything
there are only a couple of things that Black Clover does in this arc that aren't explicitly pinched directly from Naruto with very little modification.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you gotta think about, how old we are.
Yeah.
Like,
Naruto's
I think
still going, sort of.
no, that it's not written by the original guy.
Oh, okay.
So
Then
it's
it
in
doesn't
its
count.
like you gotta keep in mind that Naruto began its run in 1999,
Ugh!
2 decades ago.
Ugh!
I was in middle school, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
So stuff that
that's old.
I'm saying, it was pinched out of Naruto. That's like for me, that would be like at the age that I envision myself to be. That would be like me saying I was pinched out of something that you guys have never heard of from the 80s. Like, that's what it feels like. That's what it's actually like.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Farewell, my disappearing youth. Ugh.
I think your youth disappeared a while ago.
I kind of
Yeah.
realized that actually during the week because I had to get up and install some fiberglass insulation bats, and I can't crawl around in ceiling cavities as well as I used to be able to.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I've
was on-
started to realize that my knees are going.
Yeah.
I had to cut the yard today, and I was bouncing around the riding mower, and just the riding mower was wearing me out going down hills, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh.
Oh,
You can feel the old creeping up on you.
This is how we die, yes. Incidentally, if any packet of insulation bats on it says relatively itch-free or virtually itch-free, don't believe it.
It's a lie.
It's
Well,
a lie.
that just means that's another way of saying not itch free.
That exactly right. It just means yeah, you're gonna itch. It's gonna itch.
And you don't want that stuff in your skin anyway, dude.
Nope.
Like, that's bad for you in many, many, many different ways.
Why would you not wear gloves? What were you doing?
Yeah, it's horrible stuff. Anyway, video games. Not a whole lot to talk about. Just again, little bits and pieces. Logged into Monster Hunter World to get my anniversary goodies. If you haven't already, do it because you got 1 week left.
I need to remember.
And then we're on
I
the
need to-
downhill slide to Iceborne.
speaking of being on the downhill slide to Iceborne, it will probably be a little bit before I can play because number one, I am leaving on I will not be here on the show either the week of the 31st, the 7th, or the 14th. I'm not sure which one yet.
You just made that way too complicated for me to remember.
So, yeah. So, coming up in the future, around the change of the month, one of those weekends, I won't be here. And Monster Hunter World Iceborne comes out sometime in that ballpark.
Yup. So
I'm going to be gone for a full week and some change, probably.
Okay. So you don't get to ride the hype train.
No, it'll have died down a little bit by the time I finally get it. And I got to buy a PS4.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, right, yes, yours died.
I keep forgetting about that.
Which means if you can't pull from the cloud, you're going to have to play catch-up too.
Yeah. Oh, I can pull from the cloud, but yeah, I got to get a new PS4, and I'm waiting for my next paycheck to come through before that happens. That comes through at the start of next month before I even order it.
Yep.
Apparently I have a demo of Eve Valkyrie. Did that ever come out?
Eve Valkyrie? I cannot honestly remember.
I'm just looking for a Monster Hunter disc as well.
So yeah, get that pack if you haven't already, because if anything, just for that attack gem.
Yeah, because it's the last one you're ever going to see.
Yeah, those things just don't drop. Ever.
I would love to get it, but I can't turn on the PS4.
It did, Jim.
It did, Jim.
What else? I fired up No Man's Sky and had a quick poke around to see what they've changed. From what I can tell, I'm way behind on the curve from that game, so I'm not sure exactly what's new for this one, but they haven't changed a whole lot. Looks like they've added maybe a few more spaceship parts, so they don't all look like, all look the same, basically. And they've actually added a way to climb back up onto the trading station after you fall off it, which is nice.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're referring to.
When you fall off a trading station in that game, it's the building is basically a stick with some landing pads kind of spread around the top and a central hub and maybe a platform halfway up. If you fell off it before, you actually had to use your jetpack to try and fly back up, but if you got it even remotely wrong, you'd fall down. Also, you can't really see where you're going, so there's that too.
What was wrong with programming a ladder?
Yeah, they've finally done it and actually put a ladder on it now. So,
if this is a chronic problem, how come it didn't get fixed earlier?
I have no idea.
This seems like the sort of thing that should have been picked up in beta.
I'm not sure really they did a beta.
Maybe what you've been playing has been the beta.
So yeah, it's fine. There's still more stuff in it, and if you didn't like it before they did the 0.5 patch, I think it was, where they completely redid the progression, give it another try. I did actually have the dubious pleasure of going past a game shop today, and I've noticed that they've actually put the price of No Man's Sky back up again. It is the only game I've ever seen that goes down in price and then back up.
I mean, to be fair, they have to recoup the costs of having to keep stock for this long.
Yeah.
Like, at least it didn't end up like tabula rasa.
I believed in you, Richard Garriott.
Why?
I was a dumb kid.
You're a dumb kid, yeah. That guy is certifiably crazy.
You keep believing in people like Lord British and like Peter Molyneux and all of this.
You see,
you believe in Todd Howard too?
See, no, he was after my time, but I'm kind of glad it happened that way, because now that I've been jaded to all these people because they all screwed me over when I was a kid, I don't trust any of the game developers anymore.
Yeah, that's probably smart. I still haven't forgiven you, Todd Howard, for anything.
Tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies.
And the only other game I really had a look at this week was I pulled down the Wipeout collection for that we got.
I was going to play that, but I was a bit worried that I might not be able to cope so well.
I have been getting. I've been getting the play-by-play commentary on Abo's experience Platty in it while he's been doing it.
I looked at my activity feed. Here's Abo just racking up achievements, and here's me bouncing off the walls. I don't know how to play this game anymore.
You need to have a particular brain for it. Like,
yeah.
you need to be like RES ranking the entirety of Devil May Cry. Your brain needs to be tuned up to a sort of a higher response rate. But given how little sleep I've gotten this week, I decide it's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It takes practice to craft the headspace you need to go into the bullet time headspace. It just ain't natural. Your body doesn't want to do it, and you have to force it to if you want to get good at them games.
Yeah.
Abo plattied like all the Wipeout games. The dude loves Wipeout. We played Diddy Kong Racing after he plattied his first Wipeout game, and he just completely destroyed story mode with me playing with him.
Yeah.
I still could never complete that. Like, I can't beat Wizpig. I just can't do racing games.
It's because Wizpig's a big cheaty jerk.
That's because Wizpig is basically a pixel perfect race on most characters.
He's kind of a jerk like that.
I've heard that you've got a little bit of leeway if you use drumstick, but I've never been able to use drumstick very well.
Yeah, you can. I just only way I could beat Wizpig was just by grabbing Tip Top or Pipsy and putting the full handling characters on, so I only had to worry about doing one thing perfect and hitting the boost pads and making sure I was lined up, because steering wasn't a problem.
So yeah, Wipeout. It's hard. It's very hard.
Wipeout is hard.
It is extremely hard.
It's a very, very fast racing game.
Very fast, and you've got to learn how to use your air brakes correctly. And
not that anybody will ever teach you.
Not that anyone will teach you. The game certainly won't teach you. The game just says,
the
okay,
game will laugh at you.
Yeah, choose your car, off you go. Yeah, that's it.
I used to love the PSP Wipeout. Not because the PSP Wipeout was particularly good.
No, you game share though.
Yeah, but you could literally flip a switch on the side of your PSP and do LAN play across your entire high school.
That's fine. you could game share like a few tracks in that as well. So you didn't even need other people to have the game.
Yeah, you just needed to just walk around.
These are like the missed opportunities of the PSP that nobody really capitalized on.
I actually forgotten that button was there entirely.
Yeah, there was me and one dude in I think it was my freshman math class in high school, would just sit there and play Wipeout on PSP.
Yeah, I used to do that in engineering design class.
This is not how you're supposed to school. Wait, yeah, what do I say? Yes, it is.
I don't want to encourage people to follow the path I went through with school, as in didn't go.
Yeah, that's not wise.
Seriously, there's no Greatest Jagras?
They don't have Fat Jagras?
No, they have the names Lavazioth.
No, they got Fat Lavazioth. Okay, Fat Jagras is probably rotated out already.
Why? You don't need to take Fat Jagras away from us.
Because everyone loves Lavazioth.
I don't think that's a true thing. I think you're telling me lies.
That's not even remotely true.
I think you're pulling Todd Howard.
You just had that song go through your head, didn't you?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I did. What else? Incidentally, I really do want to sit down and actually pay for and buy Crash Team Racing. That's not happening now. Not gonna do it.
Don't do that. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, so we totally called it. Not that it was really a hard call to make. They stuck their microtransaction ore in it.
Yeah, they want $10 for 4 hours of grinding.
Yeah.
Well, that's 4 hours of grinding with their rate up, which is 5 times for 1 hour of gameplay, effectively. Or 30 minutes of gameplay. So, no.
No.
Man, I thought the gacha was bad.
Oh yeah, this is just outright malicious.
Yeah, like, oh, here's these limited time racers that you can get in this rotating shop that you have no control over what's in, and you can buy them when they're in there, but you better have enough Wumpa coins when they do. And who boy, you only get 30 minutes of rate up on Wumpa coins with online play only at a time.
Oh,
And
what a
it's-
shame. You'll actually have to fork over money. Ooh, oh dear.
Oh, what's that? Did you get the suboptimal tracks that are at the bottom of one of the tier deviations, so they take forever but don't give you enough coins for it? Oh, that's just too bad. I guess
Yeah.
you'll just have to give us money. This is me rotating my pinky finger as a finger more to the center slowly rises at you, Activision.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't like this increasingly popular rotating store shtick. Like, it's such a transparent exercise, and oh well, you're just exploiting people's sort of instinctive fear of missing out
Mm-hmm. That's
by
exactly what it's for.
making everything look limited. That's the part of the reason that I am so glad that I didn't try and play the Japanese version of FGO is that when you've got Clairvoyance EX 2 years into the future, you don't have to suffer from fear of missing out because you know exactly when things are coming up again and you can plan around that.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's part of why American whales are so much smaller in scope than the Japanese whales, is because we know when we're going to get the banner back again, so we can just skip it this time and wait for next time. But it is on some level an instinctive reaction that you can't you can by will overpower it, but you will still feel it.
And it
if
takes
you're into
practice.
something, if you're into something, you're really into something, and they offer you something on a timer, you have to overpower the urge to chase after it,
Yeah.
because the urge is going to happen regardless.
I would not have had such a big a problem with it in Crash Team Racing specifically if they had kept their original promise. No microtransactions. Yeah, it's limited, but it's a reward for doing work. Okay. I don't like it, but I'll get on board with it because you're not trying to scam me.
Mm.
No.
that part was the scam.
Yeah, that right there was the scam. The whole thing was a lie.
But they pulled a Todd Howard or Peter Molyneux.
I think this is something even worse now because they bait and switched.
They pulled a Bobby.
They pulled a Barbie.
Well, Todd Howard did that as well. Todd Howard said that they weren't going to put any game affecting. Well, maybe it was Pete Hines. I don't remember which of them said that they weren't putting any game affecting stuff into Fallout. Whatchamacallit, Fallout Online. I can't even remember what it's called at this point.
Fallout 76.
Yeah, that one.
But oh look, repair kits and material packs. Yeah.
And their junk salvage kits as well.
Yep.
Like all these things that are strictly optimal for play.
Yep.
For the only part of the gameplay loop that matters.
Yep.
And they've just jammed all those in there, like butter wouldn't melt in their mouths.
At this point, that game is, if they haven't got sued into oblivion for it at this point, they're just going to try and rip off a few customers they got. There's really no other logistical business option they have.
That seems like that's all they're really doing at this point.
Well, the thing is that all of the promises they made were like soft promises. They're not part of the agreement made with players when they sign into the game, so they won't get sued for any of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to sue them. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't do it.
You would have to... You could, if my experience with Nick shows anything, but it would not be easy. You would have to make a case around their advertising and list their press conferences as advertising, which they could fight and win without too much difficulty. It's not a gimme, but they would likely win that.
You got to think about the difference in financing behind the legal teams here.
Yeah, they do have Bethesda money.
They have scam money to protect their scam.
They do.
Well, yeah, that's how scams work.
All right, I'm going to finish my week off by talking very briefly about an actually good game, and that's Final Fantasy XIV. I finally managed to grind my machinist up to level 50.
Nice. I didn't know you were playing Firm. If you mentioned it last week, I completely forgot. But I reinstalled it on a whim.
Oh yeah.
So
he's mentioned that he's been playing it for like the past 3 weeks.
And whenever y'all talk about it, because I haven't been playing it like at all and never made it very far, I tend to zone out and forget.
You just switch on.
Yeah, it hasn't been like playing. It's just been like log in and poodle around for about an hour or two.
Yeah, I can't. I realized after I reinstalled it this week that I can't play like that. It doesn't compute with me.
Well, you've got some catching up to do, so
This is like you try if you try and think about stopping, klaxons just sound and tell you you're not done yet.
you're doing it
Yeah.
wrong.
I every part of my life is you're not done yet. You got to finish it.
Get back in there.
And I can't marathon Final Fantasy 14 like I used to marathon MMOs because I got a job.
If you actually tried to marathon Final Fantasy 14, you'd be dead before you get halfway.
Well, I could take breaks as long as they were breaks with. As soon as I wake up, I can get back to it.
Yeah,
like college and MMOs at that time.
Yeah, that's actually how my entire flat played Skyrim when it came out.
yeah.
Like we would get up in the morning and we would play Skyrim, and we would emerge about 9 hours later, and we would meet in the hallway and just sort of exchange whatever was the most amusing thing that had happened so far that day.
I was about to say you'd get out and then you just start shouting memes at each other.
Well, they hadn't become memes because we weren't wasting our time on the internet.
True.
And then we would all troop down to the supermarket to buy energy drinks because we needed to keep going. And then we'd go back and we'd resume playing.
Ooh.
And then at some point at about 4 a.m, we would pass out. And then when we woke up, we'd go back to playing Skyrim. And this carried on for like 4 straight days.
Yeah.
There's just to make everybody on the show feel old.
Don't do that.
In one of our earlier episodes, Skyrim.
How long ago was that?
That was like
2011.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was almost a decade ago. It'll be 8 years.
Anyway,
in a month.
So yeah, Final Fantasy 14. They've really fleshed out the Golden Saucer. They've hired a whole bunch of new events, and I think actually I need to go back and double check, but I think they've actually got rid of the naked Godbert statue.
No!
You missed the eye bleeding?
Well, it's part of what makes the Gold Saucer the Gold Saucer.
That there's this part of the whole area that you just cannot look at.
Yeah, there's a giant golden statue of Godbert in small clothes.
Which is basically just Godbert.
Yeah, Godbert all the time.
Yeah. So they've added Mahjong.
I can play that game now.
Actually,
actual Mahjong.
Oh my goodness.
They've also added a fashion contest, which is done during the week, and basically they give you a clue at the start of the week. Then you go to Reddit, find out what the actual results are, and then go back on Friday wearing the costume.
I need to go to this Golden Saucer and look for the most American-sounding names at the Mahjong table and run them for all their money.
Except you'll probably find that those will be the people who are actually good at Mahjong.
No.
Because nobody does Mahjong.
You just gotta find... probably you won't find one, but if you find one with, like, X's in their name or some MLG Pro Gamer tag, you can run those people for money. They ain't got a clue what they're doing.
Why would they be at the Mahjong table, then? That's not efficient. No, there's almost nobody plays for Chivos in Final Fantasy 14 because it would take too long.
There's just
way too long.
You'll get people who'll go into the Golden Saucer and do 3 games of Mahjong a week for the challenge, and therefore the free coins that come with that. But as far as actual time investment to coin return, it is the worst. It's even worse than Verminion.
Well, yeah, because you're supposed to play it because you like playing it.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. But
I know you're looking for another opportunity to glorify your skills acquired through playing Yakuza, but the reality is that they probably don't hold up in real Mahjong.
Glorify or justify?
It's like people who play poker against their computer and think that means that they can go roll a casino over.
No, I was trying to make a Yakuza joke that I was building up to, and I completely lost it halfway through that. I feel bad now. I got completely derailed and forgot.
Yeah. What else they added? They've added a whole bunch of other gates as well. So now there's kind of a rail shooter in there, and there's a variation jumping puzzle. So you can't. I think there's maybe
I
three.
hate MMO jumping puzzles.
It's
I mean,
not.
me-
It's a very forgiving jumping puzzle as far as these ones go, unless you're actually going for the gold trophy. In which case, yeah, screw you. But it for the most part, the jumps are very easy to make.
I've never liked a jumping puzzle in an MMO ever.
I don't like
The
Usually
Guild
awful.
Wars had tons of them. The ones in the secret world were particularly horrible.
It wasn't a jumping part of the puzzle, but remember the minefield?
SWOTOR! The SWOTOR was the worst.
I was going to say,
SWOTOR
yeah,
was the best.
SWOTORs were the worst. The minefield was just no.
In Secret World, you're on these like upper rafters over like a forest or a construction yard or something, and there are just landmines littering the thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's not a great time, I'm here to tell you. Because you've got lag, you've got dodgy collision detection.
Yeah.
And good times. Remember the holocrons?
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning, SWOTOR. But I got there, I did it in the end, and I did it with more than a second of input lag.
Yeah.
Not
There
just
was-
latency, I was playing on a dial-up connection on a computer so slow I had a full second of input lag.
Oh, that's right.
You
You were playing at like your grandparents' house while we were trying to get
I
those.
was visiting my parents.
Yeah, something like that.
So
That
yeah.
was hilarious.
On top of all of that, you've got your lag, you've got input lag in Vol's case, but the areas the holocrons were in were not pathed properly half the time.
Well,
Nuts.
they deliberately hid them in places that were unfinished and bugged out because they were supposed to be exploration rewards.
Yeah.
And they took that real serious. They were very bugged out.
The hardest one, and I think this is the one Ball was talking about where he got stuck, was the one where he had to drop onto a moving trash drone from like 500 feet in the air.
Yeah, but you couldn't see it. You had to guess when it was under you by basically counting.
You could see it come out of the tube, and you just had to guesstimate when it was going to be underneath you.
Yeah. The one that gave me the most grief was the one with the grappling hook. Because those things would just bug out and you'd just clip through the world.
Oh, those ones were the team event one. The
Yeah.
really, really nasty one.
Oh.
You could be doing everything
What's,
perfectly, and then the game would just say, nope, you're not supposed to be there, and drop you through the world.
what's that stupid one we had to run around that forest for eons to get to
Ah.
pick up mats to open the door? It took us like a week to get the materials to open that stupid thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was that one.
And the one on
think.
Tatooine where you have to ride on top of a blimp for half an hour.
Oh, right, yeah.
I thought I imagined that one
No,
for when I think back at the game.
that's just your brain desperately trying to remove that memory.
The hardest part of that one is not falling asleep.
You know, I really don't, in a sense, I really don't fault them for what they tried. I think it was interesting. The problem is that when it's hard stats, it's mandatory
Yeah.
for anybody taking it seriously. There's nothing to be done about that. I like the idea, and I like the fact that it was genuinely rewarding, but the problem is that there was no way around it. If you wanted to be optimal, you had to pound those nails into your fingers.
I think doing it once should have been enough for your entire account as an
Yeah,
attunement
that-
kind of thing.
That might have saved it if they'd said, "Oh, you only ever need to do this once, and all your characters can have it." Because I never managed to do it on any other character. I was like,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
that just hurts too much to think about.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were sitting there twisting maps upside down and basic guides because we leveled up really fast at the time. And we're trying to figure out how the heck to get these things. And nobody's got a guide that's worth a dang on. I'm just a vague ballpark idea where the stupid thing is. And Vol doesn't have a sense of direction, so I'm trying to twist these things upside down and look at them sideways to figure out how we're supposed to get to where the stupid thing is for every single one of these dumb things. It's memorable, though. It is an
good
experience
times.
we did not forget, and I don't think we ever will.
Yep. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that from an MMO these days.
Yeah. I could have done without the invisible, that boss with the invisible bombs, though. That was fun. Ugh.
And that's not what I would call it.
So yeah, good MMO times. If you're after a really good MMO, then Final Fantasy XIV is just kind of the best one out there at the moment.
Yeah, and I've heard really good things about this particular expansion as well. People saying it's just they really knocked it out of the park.
I couldn't tell
Yeah,
you
I
because
guess-
I'm 3 expansions behind.
Yeah.
I'm all of them behind.
You are all of them behind. So, I will have to say, though, that they still have the lag issues for Oceanic because there's no Oceanic servers, which does make the Ninja extremely hard to play. So, I tried to play it, but the Ninja has this thing where if you need to input your 3 symbols in the correct order in order to activate the right abilities. But if you do that too quickly, you'll get the fail bunny. If you do it too slowly, you get the fail bunny. Or in the wrong order, or if the game just decides to put them in the wrong order, regardless of what you pressed, because you did it too quickly, fail bunny. At least the Machinist does also run into some issues, but at this point it's just a DPS loss. And that's with the new Wildfire.
How bad is it? Like, are Smash Brothers levels of bad, or not quite that bad?
Not quite that bad. The biggest hurdle, aside from Ninja's signs, is the game's just deciding you're still in a strike zone when an ability goes off, even though you're well away from it, which is incredibly annoying, and it has gotten me killed a few times.
It's got to be psychic, Fern.
Gotta be psychic. If you get out of the strike zone, you keep running. You don't stop until the ability goes off. Then maybe the game will let you get away.
The server's estimating where you are. If it gets a signal you've stopped moving, then it will stop you moving wherever you are on the server.
Yeah, but not where you are on the client.
Yeah,
because it can't give the client priority, because if it did, people could spoof their position.
Yeah.
You remember WoW had a few problems with that, with some of their movement clipping in earlier iterations of the game before they patched it out and redid the netcode. Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to have that all over again. Like, I wonder if they've managed to find a way to keep those corrections in Classic.
That could be interesting. So, for basically the optimal, from what I can gather anyway, because the documentation on the new Machinists is pretty spread out at the moment, is when you apply Wildfire, you also need to turn on Heat Mode and weave together Heat Shot and your Gorse Shot. So it's Heat Shot, and then while it's on global cooldown, Gorse Shot. Weave those together to get the maximum number of hits in order to get the maximum amount of damage out of Wildfire. But weaving those two abilities together on an Oceanic lag just doesn't work. So, you can do it, but you just kind of got to get a bit lucky. Like, the DPS loss at the end of the day isn't all that big. You can just turn on Heat Mode, spam Wildfire, and then weave your standard 3-button combo with Gorse Shot to get a similar effect. You don't do quite as much damage, but it's close enough. I'm going to leave my week there. Had lots of little bits.
Mang.
Manga.
Mang. I try to push it out as long as I can because I know Vol doesn't have a week.
Yeah, I don't have a great deal to talk about.
Yeah. I do need to get back and play more Yakuza though, but I got sidetracked on that game horribly.
That happens. That happens a lot.
I think you're probably doing it wrong if it doesn't happen.
But I've got to make an offer in cash.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole real estate minigame is ridiculous.
I am so glad they cockblock you in that game and stop you from doing the whole dang thing at once. Otherwise, I had totally forgotten what happened to the main story.
Yeah.
Because you can get lost in that sub-story for days of, like, real-world time if you play that game for, like, 4 hours a day.
Yeah. I just love the money... What is it? Money battles when you've got an opposing interest trying to shoe in on your territory. Essentially what it means is you just stand around and throw money at each other. You just mash X as hard as you can to throw money.
Yeah, and the money is so plentiful in this game, you can effectively hammer the button.
When you defeat an enemy, they explode into confetti of money.
This is pre-bubble burst, is it?
Yeah, that's the whole shtick of this thing is Japan's economy's booming right before the crash. So everybody's waving millions of yen around for taxis.
Yeah. back when the yen actually had a value. So yeah, Yakuza is still a very good game, at least. Very, very silly game. Sometimes. So yeah, Vol, do you have anything at all worth talking about?
All right, what did I do this week? Okay, so I tackled the challenge quests for the summer event. The two last ones that I had been putting off because they were horrible, and I have terrible CE, so that would be rough to do. And I did clear both of them in the end. The boss rush one was rough. I don't actually remember how I do it, but how I did it. But I got completely wrecked the first few times, like really, really badly blown out. Eventually, I stopped trying to be clever, and I just used Martha and Kyo like I do for everything, and it went relatively well, and I got through it. I didn't need to use any command seals on that one. I just sort of wrestled my way through and got there in the end. It was not quick or optimal in any way, but yeah, I don't really like boss rushes very much.
That one entirely depended on me for how much of a douche Mordred was feeling like being with Evade.
Yeah, the way I dealt with that in the end was I borrowed a Raikou with an MLB kaleidoscope, and then I just absolutely crucified Mordred in turn 1 and then let Raikou die. Like that was my strategy, and that turned out to be the thing that got me through. Is that just not having to deal with Mordred at all for even a single hit, because Mordred will crit on every hit, which means if Mordred decides to kill your caster will die, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So
Mordred is the scariest part of that fight while Mordred's out. The second scariest for me was Marie.
Oh, Marie, I kept Marie alive till the very end. She was the last thing I killed because she was totally harmless.
I thought I had one attempt where I was like, it took me about 3 attempts to do it, I think. I can't remember. But one attempt, I was like, oh, this is going great and just fine. I didn't have any invulnerabilities up for Marie's Noble Phantasm. I'm like, oh, well, Mash has got her MP up and she's got her skill up. That'll be enough to tank it.
Nope.
No.
If you were totally fresh at full health, maybe you could. But the fact is that because it's a boss rush, they constantly buff each other. Yeah, you've got to keep that in mind. Nobody is at their normal power level. Everybody can be assumed to be like 20 to 50% stronger than they normally would be.
And they all like have some variant of Beach Flower with a charisma buff. So she probably had a few on her at least.
Yeah, my problem with her is that she was invincible most of the time. But in the end, like keeping her alive turned out to be the best strategy, because I would just, focus entirely on blowing up one of the other servants while charging the defensive ability to deal with Marie's when it went off. That was basically the way I handled it. I used Marie as the Noble Phantasm timer for the entire event, the entire battle, and basically focused on aligning enemy servants' Noble Phantasms with Marie's one. So I basically operated on that sort of 5-turn clock to rotate through. And I got there in the end. I didn't need to use any command seals. Gugulana was not quite so simple. In fact, that fight was incredibly brutal. And I cursed the air blue attempting to try and get through it.
I tried to console you for a little bit, and then I just kind of let you fight the leg. And I'm like, just hope he doesn't burst a blood vessel. If he stops responding, I'll know he died, and I'll have to fly down there and resuscitate him.
It's not.
It might be a bit late at that point.
It's not great, man. That leg is a bully.
It's a leg.
It's a bull leg.
It's just a leg of the bull of heaven.
It's a bull leg. It's a bully leg. Is more like it.
There's also that.
It's a giant chicken leg. I was not sure what I was going to do with that, and in the end, I led with Kyo because obviously, and basically borrowed a sacrificial waver and blew up Ishtar straight off the bat, because I knew that if I went into Gugulana with anything other than pristine servants, I was going to get wrecked. And
Ishtar is so obnoxious in that fight. If you might as well withdraw and restart if your Ishtar fight starts to go anywhere close to where it looks like she's going to get her NP off or she gets a few crits on somebody.
Yeah. So I didn't want to deal with that reality, so I just killed her outright. I didn't quite kill her outright. I think it took me a second turn, but I hit her so hard in the first turn that it was just like a cleanup after that. She never got a Noble Phantasm off. If you have to blow anything, preserving yourself through her Noble Phantasm, you're probably screwed. So
Charming.
yeah. The foot crits all the time.
A lot.
Even when under like 2 layers of crit down, it continues to crit.
That's just cheating.
The foot is not that scary unless the foot crits.
But the crit does. The foot does crit. It does not stop critting. In fact, it was to my disadvantage that I feel like there are a lot of advantages to using Shoot-In. I got a lot of mileage out of Shoot-In.
I borrowed your Shoot-In for the fight.
There are advantages, namely that its damage goes down, its defense goes down, its crit rate goes down, because, Shoot-In applies all of the debuffs. The problem is, Shoot-In also applies skill lock. And you need it to be debuffing you, because every time it's debuffing you, it's not critting you.
Yeah.
And considering the primary, for most people I presume, the primary defensive method is Jean, you don't have to worry about being debuffed, because you'll be constantly cleansing them. So, yeah, that's the drawback of Shoot-In. Shoot-In is very good at sort of just bringing the leg a bit down out of the stratosphere into handleable, but also brings with it the fact that every time you use a Noble Phantasm, you've got to deal with a turn of being punched in the gut over and over.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice on the turn after you use Shoot-In, because the thing might crit your face off.
Yeah, I got a kill. I destroyed both the first 2 break bars and got it down to 600,000. And I just blew command seals to finish it off, because I really just didn't want to deal with the reality of having to do all of that again. Because I was not confident that attempting to do it again would go any better. At the beginning of the fight with the leg actually went really badly for me, but then I sort of stabilized a little bit later on, and things went all right. I stabilized with Shiki and Shoot-In and Jean, and I think Jean by herself, when she was the last one standing, managed to take off probably a good few 100,000 because the leg couldn't figure out a way to kill her before she could get her Noble Phantasm off again and stabilize. And it was just a series of unlucky crits, as always, that ended up being the end of that. But yeah, I got through it in the end. That's that over, thank goodness. Now I'm just desperately trying to farm up the last copy of the 5-star event CE from part 1, which, because that was so successful last Halloween for me. When I got 2 drops of the one from part 2, which is deeply frustrating.
Yeah, and to make it worse, all the drop rate tables for part 1 seem to have disappeared from the internet.
I don't know why they took them down. It doesn't make any sense. It's not like the event was over or anything.
Yeah,
people still got farming to do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't control that. I guess it's something that the person running that spreadsheet does pro bono, so we don't really have any position to complain.
It was, but yeah, everybody seems to be having trouble getting the part 1 CE to drop. It took me 30 full AP bars at least.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of weird because it's clearly on the drop table, because I can see a blank spot.
Yeah.
Very frustrating blank spot.
Yeah, but I can only give you the data I got for it, because the rest of it's all been deleted.
Yeah, but the thing is that your data is exactly 1 data point. One data point does not tell you anything.
That's the only thing I got. I would give you more, but it's all gone. Like, whatever they said that bag was going to be made out of.
Canvas,
yeah. I keep wanting to say cashmere whenever we bring up that stupid bag.
I don't think you make bags out of cashmere.
Yeah. But, oh man. Yeah, that CE is a pain in the butt.
Right. At any rate, with that out of the way, that sort of we're back in water treading mode. for the time being. I've pretty much emptied the shops of anything that I think is urgent to get. So the only things left are, in part 1, I still haven't got the silver pieces, although I probably won't bother to go to the effort, since you can't turn the currency for silver pieces directly into QP. It's got a 1 in 10 conversion rate, so it's not really very efficient. But I've got everything but the gold and silvers out of the part 2. So I'll probably start winding down the event now. I could be wound down already if the darn CE would drop, but it's not anywhere near that cooperative, unfortunately. So what's coming up next in September? I think the next thing will probably be Neurofest.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'm not looking forward to it. Neurofest is just...
There are pages in the lottery.
Like, if it was just the lottery, that would be one thing, because I can sort of just switch off and farm or whatever. But the challenge quests in Neurofest are always just horribly brutal.
Do they scale up the ones from previous years?
No, they just create entirely new ones.
Yeah, because there's I think there's the rerun of last year's in there as well.
I don't know if they rerun the old ones or not. Historically, they haven't rerun them, but maybe this time they will.
I thought I saw it in the event list when I clicked on it.
I don't know how many copies of the event they have actually saved in the archive, but there's just some that I don't really want to do again because it's horrible. Like
the Million Hassan parade.
Yeah, Parade of Hassans was hard enough the first time. It took forever. I'm not sure that I actually want to go through that again. Although it's going to be trivial this time because Merlin exists. So provided you've got your timing right, you'll probably be fine. Once you start getting rolling, you should be able to generate enough Noble Phantasm that you'll be able to debuff everything that you need to debuff. The only question is whether or not it's still worth bringing Iris Veil. It might be worth bringing Iris Veil because if you make a mistake, somebody will just die. That's sort of what makes that whole thing stressful. But yeah, the Siggy one I did last time, that shouldn't be too bad. Can't remember which ones I couldn't do. I don't think I did all of them. But yeah, I don't like those things because I have to spend so long planning. I can't use most of the mainstream strats because I don't have any good CEs. So yeah, I don't know what the new challenge quests will be. I haven't looked into them yet to find out what they're going to be like, but I'm expecting to suffer and suffer greatly.
There's a Spartacus in there for the first one.
Yeah. I think there's also like an Arash that can repeatedly use Noble Phantasm or something.
Yeah, there's an Arash in here.
That doesn't sound fun.
He has invincibility pierce on it too, permanently.
Yeah.
Ply Guts 3 times. He has 5 million HP.
I just don't want to. I don't want to.
Stun resist. And a skill that gives him instant charge.
Like all the way?
Yeah, full charge. And he has a skill that cranks his NP up by, I presume, a ridiculous amount.
Oh.
Gonna need Mash and a whole bunch of Lancers. Really glad I got that Tamamo.
Really don't know how I'm going to deal with that one. That sounds
you got
awful.
Tamamo too, didn't you?
Yeah, but she's not leveled up. I don't have time for that. I don't have a job which involves sitting at a phone doing nothing all day.
I was so mad. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
When I'm at work, I'm busy, like constantly busy. So there's no mucking about on my phone. Yeah, at any rate, Neurofest is always busy and stressful as far as events go. This one is going to probably last 2 weeks. I think that it'll be a matter of prioritization, really. Like, what do I need to get out of this event? Is it worth just skipping the challenge quests to focus on the lottery because I'm really, really low on skill gems? Yeah, like, because the lottery is what the lottery helps you progress your entire crew. Like, you make progress mechanically that way. If you do the exhibition matches, mainly you just get bragging rights because it's just summoning tickets. And if I was really felt wounded that I didn't get summoning tickets, I could just throw money at the gacha instead. So
Yeah, but there's like QP and mana prisms and EXP cards and skill gems in the lottery.
yeah, provided you get
Pages.
the lore out of the exhibition matches, you don't really need to care too much about the rest. Yeah, so that'll be a prioritization issue because it's been a few events back to back lately. I'm starting to get a bit worn down. It happens. Eventually, it happens. It's just the way of things.
We should hit a break after Neurofest, I think. At least until for quite a while, actually. I don't think there's any major events until the Halloween rerun.
The Halloween rerun is separated from Neurofest by like a few days. Like I think it's like a week tops.
Well, the good news is the Halloween rerun, you only need to get one drop.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
I sort of enjoyed that event anyway. Like I don't really like the fact that it's like bully Liz all day every day. Like I think that they should cut her a break in the story once at least. But
like grab the gold foos from it, grab the hearts, grab the feathers, and that's it.
well, I don't think I really need feathers that badly.
There's
Well,
dragon fangs in there, you can get those instead.
Yeah, dragon fangs. You can't ever have enough dragon fangs. Nobody wants to go back to farming wyverns again. Like farming wyverns is so prevalent throughout the game that it is a running joke within the game itself that you always have to deal with wyverns no matter where you are or what you're doing.
Don't
Always
want to go back
wyverns.
to Denning.
Everyday
Please.
wyverns.
Please
Wyverns
don't send me back to Denning or the Isle of Wyverns. Both of those are a nightmare.
Yeah, but I don't think I like everybody else talks about how badly they need feathers, but I never went through a need feathers stage. Like I guess that's what happens when you never roll anything good.
I think it's mostly sabers that need them, and you don't have very many of those.
Well, I've got tons of them. It's just I don't level them up because I don't need like 6 AoE sabers. Nobody does. So I've got 313 feathers. Like, what am I even going to spend those on? I need something else more interesting, like homunculuses or something. But
I haven't needed homunculus babies.
that's
not strictly speaking true, but I have plenty of them.
I have 687 void dust.
I'll take some. I need some cocaine.
But yeah. Anyway, what else? I played a bit of Danganronpa. Yeah, whatever they're calling it these days.
Dragon
Ari
Grandpa.
got me the PC version on Steam.
That was a mistake.
It's a bad port. My goodness, it's a bad port.
Yes, it is.
Like the text doesn't align properly in the boxes. The controls are super janky. It's just, and of course, naturally, it also just doesn't look good because it's impossible for it to look good. Just upscaled from a PSP screen, not really any saving it. It's as a port goes, it's really odd. Like you can't even use the mouse to select things on the menus. Like you just can't. There's no mouse pointer. You just have to use WASD for everything, like you're still holding a gamepad.
Wow.
Yeah, the mouse does control the cursor when it comes to like inspecting things and participating in the trials and so on and so forth. But it's sort of, I don't know, like I take exception with a lot of the design choices made in this game generally. Like I don't think that screwing with the interface and getting in the way of people doing what they want to do is a good design mechanic. I just think that that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you really have confidence in your ability to make a murder mystery game, you should make the gameplay revolve around solving the murder mystery, not wrestling the UI into submission so people can accept that you solved the murder mystery. I don't think that that's cool. It's just dumb. And it's not helped by the interface having gone through a level of porting, which makes everything act a little bit jankier than it should. So
Mhm.
just simply clicking on something during the trial is legitimately a trial in and of itself, because you could just get, rebelled against by the UI at any moment, which happened to me a couple of times. Like, I would click something and then I'd wait, and then the shot would go off like a second after I had clicked, so that it missed what I was aiming at. Like, that's not cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just don't muck around with the UI. Make your gameplay about your genre. It's,
Thankfully, I know they had it sorted out by the third game, but did they do it for the second as well, or is it still jank?
I have heard nothing about the port for the second game.
Yeah, neither have I. So it can't be all
Like,
that bad.
I know the first game had a janky port, and
Mhm.
it's part of the reason I've been prefacing every time I've been trying to show this thing to Vol. If you play the series, you've got to just choke down the first game for many reasons. The first game has not aged very well at all.
No.
So I didn't take as much umbrage with the mechanics as Vol seems to be taking with it, but yeah, there are a few things in the first game, especially going back after you play V3, that just don't quite click right.
There are still some things that are a bit jank in V3 as well.
Yeah, well, it's not nearly as bad in V3 because they figured out how to make the interface add to the presentation much better.
Mm-hmm. How
So,
to make your
and-
mini games mostly work.
Yeah, they took the
how to
P5
improve Hangman's Gambit.
No, that was 2.
No, they don't do that.
Vol was mentioning the trial and how he was getting frustrated with it, and I was giving him a rundown of the community opinions on stuff on it, and I just remembered Hangman's Gambit and improved Hangman's Gambit and started linking him memes about improved Hangman's Gambit back to back to back.
I'm not convinced that it wasn't deliberate, making it worse.
It was really bad. when you get to Dingle 2, everything is better except for Hangman's Gambit.
Yeah.
Everything is a huge step up except for Hangman's Gambit.
Honestly, of the three, I think the second Dapper Rhinos is probably my favourite one.
I like the third
At
one
least as
because
far
it's
as story.
completely fleshed. Oh, and as far as story goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Hangman's Gambit.
Hangman's Gambit, no. The less said about Hangman's Gambit, the better. That's just awful in all three of them.
Thankfully, there aren't too many of them throughout the games. Every game has one Hangman's Gambit answer in addition to the minigame being jank that is just, what were they trying to translate?
It's the problem. You're trying to do Hangman across different languages, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. It's really funny. The second game's one is the best one in the first chapter. That's 4 words.
Oh, right.
About the location of a certain thing. Vol will get there soon.
The location of the thing, and yeah, it's... They had to come up with 4 words with that number of characters. And
yeah.
It's a bit of a stretch.
They had to add articles and like semi-pronouns to the word to make it fit.
Yeah.
Or adjectives, I guess, to describe where it is. So it's blank the blank.
Yeah. It's goofy. It's really goofy.
As far as I can tell, aside from not getting very many coins, it doesn't matter if you screw up infinity times.
Yeah, no, you can.
Yeah,
it's just going to take away from your score. If you don't care about doing the social links in one, which I recommend you just Google instead, if you really want to watch them. And the characters in one are the flattest to begin with, so it's not really worth it to go through. You don't get anybody really worth doing any of the social links for their stories until Danganronpa 2.
Yeah, I think that the thing that sort of perturbs me the most really is that I don't really understand how we got to the point where this was a smash hit, because I want to strangle most of these characters every time they open their damn mouths.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't a relic of an era before Game of Thrones, before any kind of experimental junk was done like this in mystery games. So it did a whole lot of things first, but the first game in retrospect did them badly now that we've seen how it's done well.
Yeah. Incidentally, if you've really got nothing else to watch at the moment, Ferrello has done the abridged version of Game 1.
No,
Which
he
is-
hasn't finished it. He gave up.
He just kind of stopped.
It goes up to the third chapter, but yeah, it doesn't cover the whole story.
Yeah, he did a trailer for Game 2 as well, but just stopped there as well.
He quit abridging halfway through that project, and it was a really good abridged series. I really liked it, but
It was.
it unfortunately got stopped. It might be worth a watch after you finish the first game. But
Yeah.
You just got to choke it down.
Otherwise.
Unfortunately, there's no way to get into the Danganronpa universe without knowing what happens in the first game, because it sets up how ridiculous the world is with its finale, and they go out of their way to turn that into a proper setting throughout the rest of the games, but without the context for how over the top and ridiculous it's going to get at the end, and the justifications being because we said so need to make sense. And if you don't have the context for it from the first game, nothing at all with the story in 2 or the later reveals in 3 are going to make any, or V3 are going to make any sense.
Yeah.
So you just kind of got to choke it down and accept that they will do something with that ending that is interesting. It's just not going to look like it when you get there, and the ride there is going to be stepping on rocks.
Yeah. In the meantime, like I'd be quite happy to expend influence gauge to just gag Hifumi.
Oh yeah.
Just stop him speaking ever again, because he just can't shut up ever.
I don't think it's a spoiler because of his character design. He's going to die at some point, so you won't have to put up with him forever. But
yeah, he needs to shut up. Like, he seriously needs to stop talking forever.
Yeah,
My goodness. Like, the as much as he is a prick, I came to find that I liked Byakuya the most simply because he only spoke when there needed to be something said.
You're gonna... Oh my goodness, next chapter. Next chapter is the Byakuya chapter.
Yeah.
And,
okay. So he's gonna torpedo all of that.
The super duper high school prick gets his moment to shine.
You're coming with me, Naegi. Tell him, Naegi.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've done a real good job of making everybody super annoying. And I was actually quite blown away by how comically idiotic Hagakure was. Like, normally the dumb character is just kind of slow, but no, he's like...
He's a genuine idiot.
Yeah, he's just... There's nothing to save there. His head is empty.
Weedman was so stupid, he became an ensemble dark horse almost, in both Japan and the US because of how stupid he was. And he got so popular that they made a spin-off novel for him. It's in the spin-off game with Naegi's sister as the protag. You can read the entire Hagakure novel in the game.
Why is that a thing?
It's just him being Weedman and being a total idiot in with Leon's sister trying to stay alive.
Yeah. I have to say, big points for Danganronpa 2 as well. They kill off the most annoying characters at the start. Just saying.
Well, they finally... The cast of Danganronpa 1 are a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
Number one. In Danganronpa 2, when they realize one of the characters is unstable at the end of chapter 1, the first thing they do is tie him up.
Yeah.
They put a gag in that guy's mouth and tie him to a post on the wall. And say, you ain't going anywhere.
You're dangerous, you're unhinged, you're insane, we're just going to tie you up.
Yeah, the characters in 2 are much more interesting, and the characters in 3 are more over the top and a lot more fun, though less believable, but for a good reason. They sacrifice it for character moments, which is fine. But yeah, 1 just... The characters all feel flat in comparison. And yeah, I just have to remind everybody that I recommend this game to, you just got to put up with it because it came from a time before, and unfortunately you need the information. But it is worth it to get through it and get to 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Or V3. I keep saying 3. When I say 3, I mean V3. Don't waste your time with Danganronpa 3, the anime.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's just going to ruin 2's ending.
What? Because it reveals something? Because it changes something?
It
or what?
retcons what the big bad of 1 did to make the world the way it is, and why the school is locked up the way it is. It totally retcons their motivation and their method, especially, to be something that is just not interesting at all,
Yeah.
and that outright contradicts both the spin-off game and the ending of 2. It's a total retcon, and it's garbage.
Dear.
So just most of the fandom pretends it doesn't exist.
It's just bad.
Yeah.
Soulstorm.
Yeah.
It's like nobody liked the retcon, and Kodaka was
Incidentally-
like, "Yeah, that was a bad idea."
Incidentally, that name will soon be redeemed when the Oddworld Soulstorm game comes out soon.
Are you
Optimistic.
sure though, or is the the name cursed?
It could be. It could very well be. But New and Tasty was good, so hopefully Soulstorm would be more of that.
Yeah, but there's not another game that's so terrible that it never happened called New and Tasty.
This is also true.
Oh dear.
Anyway, what else? Okay, so I watched the first episode, or the 0th episode of Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia. What a mouthful. It's I enjoyed it a lot, but of course, it's not sufficient background. If you don't know anything about FGO, it's just not sufficient background.
Do you get the feeling you would need to play up to Babylon before you watched it, or would having a cursory understanding of the first few singularities and how the system works make enough?
I'm really undecided about that. Like I'm a purist in the sense that I think that you should probably have played all the way through Babylonia first before watching it, simply because it's best that way. What the anime covers, first of all, is it starts. The starting point is the very first summoning that they attempt, which is oh, this is spoilers for Fern. But I don't think he doesn't know, but I'm not sure, and I can't ask.
You can spoil bits
Fern,
of it.
do you know who Mash's servant that she's fused with actually is?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so
a spoiler
this is
that's very hard to avoid.
the story starts at the summoning of Galahad. Like the big major demi-servant experiment that is successful and binds Galahad into Mash. And the story goes basically it's goes through it then winds back a little bit, and it goes through how Romani joins up with Chaldea, how he ends up basically becoming the caretaker for Mash, and the sort of emotional development of Mash from being a doll into being a person, and so on. And it proceeds up until Olga takes over, I think. And then it skips ahead a little bit to Mash first meeting the protagonist and ends there. But there's also, in addition to that, there's a brief montage of each of the singularities. Just a very brief montage, but it just sort of pays homage to each of them in turn. Unlike FGO Tourist Rialta, it doesn't pretend Septim doesn't exist entirely.
Why? Everyone else does.
When I read Tourist Rialta, I was very amused to see that they just they omit that entire that entire chapter is just omitted. But yeah, so it's not. It provides background that is interesting and sort of fan service, I suppose, to a fan of the FGO branch of the Nasuverse, but it doesn't provide you with a great deal of information. I think that it not enough to make Babylonia meaningful by its own. And honestly, because of the sheer quantity of character development and the number of hints and things that are dropped in Camelot, I think that you need to play at least up till the end of Camelot. Babylonia is supposed to be, the anime is supposed to be a thorough treatment of the entire Singularity over the course of the season. So we can reasonably hope that that you won't need to have played Babylonia. Although, if they skip some of the more humorous scenes, like the plancha scene from Babylonia in the anime, if they don't make that play out in the most ham-tastic way possible, I'll be extraordinarily disappointed.
Needs
If
more
Benkei's
lucha.
head does not act like Whack-A-Mole head at any point in this animation, I'm going to be disappointed.
But the thing is that Babylonia, the reason why I think that you should probably play Babylonia first is so that you can play it your way first, because I honestly don't know the tack that they will take going through the story, because Babylonia is, in terms of the choices that the character can make, is very sharply bifurcated. The tone is completely different depending on which you pick, because if you pick serious ones all the time, the story is quite dark. If you pick the goofball response all the time, it's sort of more of a comedy adventure with a dark crisis at the end that gets resolved in also a comedic fashion.
Okay.
But like, depending on how you interact with the story, like, because you can act like a standard protagonist, or you can act like a genre-aware protagonist throughout the story. So the very first thing you do in Babylonia, pretty much, is you have the classic anime meetup with Ishtar, which pretty much means that you collide with her and end up groping her.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That type of thing. Now, you have the option to be an anime protagonist, or you can threaten to take her to court. And then when you've gone through that particular approach later on, when you are in court in front of Gilgamesh, you can then comment, I guess I basically have taken you to court now at this point.
Nice.
So you can basically ham your way through the entire story, and I think that they will probably try and split the difference with the anime to avoid it getting too wacky. So I think it would be fun to play through the story in the conventional way first, but you probably won't need to just get to grips with the story beats themselves. I think that would be fine.
To emphasize Val's point, I have linked a completely out of context quote, semi-quote, from one part of Babylonia.
I had actually long forgotten that it was from Babylonia, because that's pretty much the way you solve a lot of the really tough problems.
Mash do the thing.
Mash do the thing.
Just mash do the thing. That's a running thing long before Babylonia comes along, though.
I don't know that it was explicitly stated like that, other than in Babylonia.
Yeah.
Well, when you put it like that, when you put it like that, mash do the thing, that basically it's a call out to how routine it's gotten to be at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good pilot for getting the interest of people who would already be interested in it. I'm not convinced that it will sell FGO to anyone who's not already playing it. And it's by itself, quite honestly, not sufficient. Like, it's not a pilot in the classical sense, which should be capable of hooking someone completely uninitiated into the show. It's very much for fans.
Yeah, it's effectively a full 2-season long tie-in OVA.
That's to be expected, really, because the story of FGO is just too long for any other treatment. Like, if you might be able to get a bit of an easier time if you watch First Order along with it. I mean, First Order's got its issues, but you get a cohesive story of the first part of the narrative. But there are too many revelations that happen in the End of London, particularly, and in Camelot, particularly, that you can't not know about going into.
There's kind of a key character
Babylonia.
in Camelot that you will need to know before the story starts. I mean, if you don't know who Gramps is, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
His setup is the Singularity before this one.
Yeah. And I'm sort of surprised that they worked the timing out this way, since the Camelot movie is still in production. I'm very much looking forward to that, because I think both of them would do well as would do well in terms of high production values, but I think that Babylonia is very much more suited to an adventure story, whereas Camelot has very highly concentrated major story beats, whereas Babylonia is basically a military campaign over a long time. So they are correctly suited to their formats, but I'm sort of disappointed that they didn't come out in order, because I think that would work a lot better for a lot of people. But we've got two different groups who are producing them, so it's sort of hard to say if they'll line up. Like, there's lots of canon variations in official content, like for instance, Tourist Realtor changes a few things here and there. It gives it doesn't change anything significant, but it changes little things here and there, which vary up the standpoint of various people at various points in time. But it does show that individual creators are given leeway to take poetic license with the source material. So we don't really know precisely what direction each of them will go, or if they'll mesh perfectly together. I hope that there's some coordination there. But of course, the scene that everyone is waiting for. And
I want to see what it looks like. I must know. This thing is too vaguely described. Oh wait, the Babylonia? No, okay, never mind. I thought you were talking about Camelot still.
No, I've got a very clear image in my mind of what Arash Airlines is like.
I cannot picture quite what they described in my head as a roof. So
I have a pretty clear picture in my mind, and it's pretty much, as far as I can tell, it works pretty much the same way as it does in Konosuba. But the scene I'm talking about that everybody seems to be waiting for is Fu's Grand Revenge.
Oh, so we can make GIFs of the Fu kick.
Pretty much. But you know, they've added it to his animations now in Japan.
Nice.
Merlin's got an animation where he sits down to meditate to do one of his skills, and then Fu just comes in from off screen with a karate kick, like dynamic entry style.
It's been his April Fool's arch since that was a thing.
Yeah, but it's now animated as part of Merlin's animation set for doing skills in the game.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, Fu.
Do I have anything else that I particularly wish to speak of at this point? I do not think so.
All right. So, I piggyback mostly off y'all's weeks, so I don't have very much.
How could you?
And we don't have that much news. Do y'all want to just truck through it, or do y'all need a break?
Nah, slam through it, I think.
Okie doke.
You good for that, Vol?
Yep.
Okay.
Slam on.
So,
no, wait, don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
So this week was very frustrating for me, and that the equivalent of 2 to 2.5 days of actual at work time was spent stalled out waiting on other people, or waiting on some part of a job to break, or something of that nature. Basically, stuff that was out of my control. And I did not have the ability to go out and actually do anything and put my little butt in my little car and go drive somewhere to try and do stuff, because the job I was doing that for has just been sold. So I don't have the big job right now. I'm trying to get the next one. And so I'm stuck in this interim period at work where I'm trying to get a hold of a big enough job to keep me occupied. And I'd already done all the books and already got everything updated. So I'm sitting there on phone duty, because it's a slow week on top of all this, so nobody else is in the office, literally with nothing to do. This made me incredibly mad. Like, not at anybody, not at anything. It's just the nature of how this week turned out. But I hate sitting there doing nothing when I have designated this work this space of time is work time. And I could not do anything else but sit there and answer the phone, because somebody's got to answer the phone. And I can't go home and find something productive to do, or do something I actually want to spend my time doing. So I happen to have my iPad with me, so I just ground up the event in FGO and then ground hands to catch up with a whole bunch of dudes that were behind an EXP. And this was way too much of my week for me to feel happy about.
Yeah, you must have killed a pretty staggering number of hands.
Yeah.
Because each servant that you level up will probably take about 140 hands.
It was 60 quartz worth.
That's a lot of hands.
Yeah, I before all this started, before I knew what this week was going to be like, I messaged Fall and I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to buy a whole bunch of quartz and treat it as unlimited play time for the rare events when I actually have time to play. And I was so bored out of my mind, I blew it all on getting EXP from hands.
Yeah, that's a boring week.
Yeah, I was irrationally mad. I don't even know why I was mad. I didn't have anybody to be mad at.
It's because you've got pent up energy and nowhere for it to go.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not mad at anyone. I'm not even really mad at the situation. It's just, that's just the nature of this week. I just don't like not being productive when I've designated this particular block of time to be productive. And it drove me up the wall. I was literally pacing in circles around my corner of the office, walking back and forth, tapping hands. So that was the majority of my week. And what made it even worse was I get home, right, from doing effectively nothing worthwhile at work, and I'm more exhausted and not in a mood to do anything than I would be if I had worked hard most of the day. Like, if I'd actually done work, I'd probably gotten home and wanted to feel like I needed to use that time. But because I felt like I just wasted a ton of time, I just didn't care and didn't want to do anything. So I would just sit on the computer for about 2 hours, talk to people, and then go to bed. It was not a fun week.
Is that not what, like, isn't that like some people's entire job though? Like,
I don't know how they do it.
Cubicle slaves in that.
Yeah.
I used to do that, and it was the single most soul destroying thing I've ever done.
Yeah, no. If too many weeks of being unable to be proactive and stuff would make me start to snap. The opossum would be found in a creek several weeks later if that happened.
I'm not sure that's going to be caused by inactivity.
Not by my inactivity.
Yeah.
Or do you have somebody out on sales? Like, is more work coming in?
We have this is the lull period of the year at work because we're at the tail end of summer. Early midsummer are our heaviest pieces, and mid fall is our next heaviest piece. Winter is fairly light because nobody wants to install anything to do with water in as much quantities as we move in the middle of winter when the pipes can freeze. So yeah, we're just hitting a more downtime part of work, and I've just been attuned to this heavy workload for the past several months. I've been incredibly busy. So when a week finally got here where I didn't have anything that I'd set up to do, I just got really restless. It was not fun. I've got to find something to do this next week. I'm working on making that happen so that I at least have something to work on and that doesn't happen again. But yeah. So yeah, on the plus side, all my gold servants are caught up except for I almost said the nickname I used for him, except for Bob. I'll pick the other one. And except for Giraffe Nick and Bonnie Mary and Mary Reed. So those two are the only two gold servants I have that did not get caught up. I caught up a good chunk of the bronze and silver servants that I had still laying around. The only ones of those I've ever really used regularly were Medea, Medusa, and a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I got a bunch of them caught up. Got Paul Bunyan caught up. And I'm now, apparently, I had a lot of archers that I just let sit and rot because I had Gilgamesh and never leveled up, because now I'm out of archer pieces when I had almost 200 of them before. And
how
I blame
will you buy the background music in my room?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, both of the servants I need to level up right now are blocked by not having enough archer pieces, and I blame Arjuna for all of this. It's all his fault. And I blame Beowulf for the other problem I ran into, where doing this literally took all of my bones. I have no bones. I have 0 bones.
You leveled up the dude, bro?
So yeah, Beowulf was just kind of sitting around. I got him as a rando SR I didn't even take note of. because he's Beowulf. And
He's
I
a-
would
he's a
never
bro, and
intended
that's
to
about
use
it.
him. I never intended to use him, and so he just kind of sat there at level like 1.
He does
And
become a
what-
very good Buster Crit servant later on when we finally get that strengthening. Very good. Like second
yeah.
only to Jolter good.
Yeah, so Bayo was just kind of chilling there. I'm like, I guess I'll level you up, buddy. And I didn't even take note that one of his ascensions took 30 bones,
He just frittered away 30 bones without thinking about it.
and then 30 bones were suddenly gone.
Like, no, my bones!
I'm like, uh-oh. That's not good.
Gonna need those.
I guess Tammy will have to wait a bit on her skills. So yeah, that was basically all the gaming I did. I did watch one anime, actually watch. I had a bunch of anime on in the background while I was waiting on the phone to ring. I had I picked a bunch of anime that I didn't particularly like and wasn't a super fan of, but didn't hate either. So I had like Future Diary on and rewatched that. I had like I turned on Brunhilde in the Darkness to remember what Jamie Marchi sounded like and compare her to other newbie voice actors who I noticed were in the thing. And holy crap, she's awful. and it isn't the ADR. She's the most experienced voice actor on the Brunhilde in the Darkness cast, which is a fairly trashy whatever show by the elfin lead guy. It's not super interesting. It's not total garbage, but it's not very interesting at all. Not worth your time.
Well, it's a crappier version of Elfin Lead.
Yeah, it's not worth your time. But Jamie Marchi was in it, and I had trouble remembering her voice. And I compared her to the rest of the cast, who are all a bunch of newbies or C-listers, and they all blew her out of the water. And I cannot tell if they actually had a whole lot of talent there that could potentially have done something good if they'd have kept going, or if I was just focused on comparing them to Jamie Marchi and how bad she was.
Yeah,
Because
bit of A, probably.
She was a full like letter grade and a half below the next best voice actress.
Ugh.
It was bad. But yeah, so I didn't particularly watch those. They were just shows I was familiar with that I could turn a dub on for and put in the background while I'm waiting on stuff to happen. And so I did, but the one anime I actually did start watching was the El Malloy Case Files to keep things on the Fate train rolling. And what I've learned here is that Waver and Legos don't go well together, but they make really funny faces when they do.
Look closer. Those are actually quartz pieces.
I know. I know. It's just for the sake of the viewing audience.
Everybody has stepped on a Lego.
Everyone has stepped on Legos, and it is never pleasant.
Yeah, and you see Waver step on a Lego quartz, and he has the best facial expressions in that episode.
As far as I can tell, that's one of the scenes that they inject periodically to remind the audience that it's still the same person that it was during the Fourth War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he's
kind of a
trying to be
goofy nerd.
serious business, he's still ultimately just a goof.
Yeah, he's still Waver. So yeah, you see a couple flashes that hint at him needing to go review video games in the background if you look at the background details and stuff like that. So it's Waver. Waver's cool. I like Waver a lot from Fate Zero. And I was hoping his series would get animated, and I followed it up to, I think I'm up to, I could check, I think I actually watched it on Crunchyroll, because they still haven't deactivated my account.
Crunchyroll. You're still terrible.
Yeah. So I'm not very far. I'm only...
The worst bit is, though,
Yeah, go
Crunchyroll is terrible, but they've got the biggest terrible library.
Yeah. So I made it through episode 3, and I stopped halfway through episode 4.
I don't think I'm even capable of stopping it halfway through an episode of something.
I was at work when I was watching, so a phone call must have come in. So that's where I put that on hold. And yeah, it's honestly, I think this is the most accessible Fate series out there right now.
Yeah, well, mainly because they are fully intending to ear bash you with the details manually. If there's something you need to know, well, I mean, everybody who isn't Waver or another Lord is pretty much an apprentice and needs things explained. So you don't need much background information to get into it. Although I do think that you do need you need to have a sense for what the world is like at least in a vague sense.
Yeah. But you can get away with a general knowledge of kind of how the Fate universe maybe sort of kind of works.
I don't think you even
And-
really need to know that. I think that it's more important that you know that Mage is a jackhole. Well, I think that that's the most important piece of background knowledge that you need.
It does a
Yeah.
good job of reinforcing that.
Because, you see, the thing is that Fate Stay Night won't really communicate that for the most part, because most of the animated stuff doesn't really bring that into focus. That just looks like, oh, well, Kirei's a bad person, and whatchamacallit, Granddaddy Mato is a bad person as well. It doesn't bring into focus the fact that, no, actually, every single Magus, on average, is a murderous jackhole who will do anything to get what they want. That's pretty much the reality. You get that from Fate Zero, but you don't get that from Fate Stay Night. And
Yeah.
you definitely don't get it from the parts of Prisma Ilia that have been animated. If they had actually animated like the third chapter of Prisma Ilia, then you would get it in spades, because everybody is evil at that point.
Yeah.
Like I still think that arguably Prisma Ilia is the darkest Fate series. Once you get all the way to the conclusion, they've never animated the dark stuff, except you get a taste of it in whatever it was, Oath Under Snow. I can't remember what the movie was called. The Ilia movie that doesn't feature Ilia, because it's entirely about Miyu. But
the Miyu and Shiro show.
yeah, but that story goes very, very sharply south very quickly, and they've never really animated it. Possibly because the manga has slowed to a crawl, so there's not enough material. But I think that you can still get into El Malloy Case Files quite easily once you sort of have picked up on the general atmosphere. It's loaded to the gills with fan service for Fate fans, but I don't think you really need it.
Yeah.
I think that a completely uninducted person would be rather confused about why Rongaminiad matters at all.
Or why Waver's sobbing over a red coat.
Yeah,
Scrap.
there's an awful lot of stuff that is left in the background, like that's the part that ties it to the rest of the franchise, though, because ultimately the Fate franchise is about Holy Grail Wars, and Waver's ties to that are what drives him as a person forward. So how much they go into that in the series, sort of, it's a bit ambiguous because I haven't read the novels because there's no official translation.
Yeah,
much like certain other titles.
Yeah. And by the time I finish learning Japanese, it might be halfway done. Finally, by somebody else on the 4th try. So
I'm very much enjoying El Malloy Case Files. To the episode that aired today that I haven't watched yet because I watch it tonight is the opening of the Rail Zeppelin arc proper. Last week's episode was a beat episode, which I thought was kind of amusing. It's basically about Luvia and Rhiners and Gray getting stuck in a shopping mall because Luvia has gaudy taste.
Right.
So they've also had like mini arcs. Like there's the mini arc with Necrobro, and then there's one-shot episodes before that. And so I feel like they've done a pretty solid job of pacing a single season anime. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 core, but they led with a really strong pilot. They've got a couple of solid one shots. They've got a mini arc that works really well and has a fan favorite character in it. And then they have a beat episode, and they're moving into like the major arc now. So I think that you basically can't pace it any better than that.
Yeah. And Necrobro is always fun, so I can't wait. I heard mention of a necromancer in the episode I met before I got the phone call and had it turned off. But yeah, it's fairly accessible. It's if you have not touched Fate stuff before, you could feasibly get into this and understand what's going on for the full first 3 episodes if you just know mages are jerks, and once upon a time, Waver summoned Alexander the Great, and they were best buds.
Yeah, you don't need to go into a wiki dive for this.
Yeah.
So that's about all you really need. The rest of the magic and the mechanics of it is explained on the fly as what would in any other show just be generic Magibabble. So, and you can but this has the benefit of if you take the magic system this way, you can put the magic babble aside and save it for later and use it as a reference point when they get into the more deeper you need to go read the wiki topics in the other series, and you can actually already have a head start on it without being too terribly lost. It'll make pacing around Kyrie with his pops and Tokiomi way easier to stomach in Fate Zero. That is a turnoff point for a lot of people. That one scene. But yeah, overall I've enjoyed it. Waver is one of the more interesting characters. The characters around him are some of the ones that I like in the Fate universe the most. So the actual mages and their insane nutcase headspaces they have to get into to do their experiments and the way the universe actually works are the more interesting parts of Fate to me, rather than either the CKMA stuff or the Fate stuff in general. As fun as clubbing people over the head with historical figures is, I think the mechanics of the Nasuverse are way more interesting. And this presents it in a way that's fun with characters that are all fun and interesting. So if you want to get started,
I charitably
you
suggest you don't try and discuss that stuff online to anybody listening, because the people who are really into it are ruthless purists, and they will absolutely show no charity to you whatsoever if you ask a dumb question or get something wrong. Just don't. Stay away from the community online. It's not cool.
Here's my advice for Type Moon in general. If you ever want to try poking at it, just assume what you read is different from what everybody else thinks is correct, because two reasons. Number one, there's a ton of crap to go through in the Nasuverse. It's a very deep universe. That is a selling point for me and a whole lot of other people, but it also means that the people that write the wiki, when they translate the Japanese-only stuff to English, get in edit wars. And you probably did read something different than what somebody else did.
There's a lot of things also, the way people discuss a lot of basic concepts in the Nasuverse is not defined by Nasu, it was defined by Miramoon. And so it's not strictly correct. And it's because they were the dominant translation of Fate Stay Night right up until this day into English. So the Western fandom has a totally different idea of nuance for a lot of the terms that are used, because their familiarity with the term is hitched directly to Miramoon's translation, and Miramoon made a lot of questionable decisions when they were translating, but since they're the only translation available, most people think of things that way. Which is why we've got memes that have continued through, like King of Knights, King of Conquerors, King of Kings. Like, that's not actually what it's like in the Japanese. It doesn't actually translate like that. That's how Miramoon translated it. It was supposed to be the Night King, the Conqueror King, the King's King. It was not supposed to. It was not supposed to have a separation in the middle.
Yeah, and a lot of the terminology between series will often get shuffled. This is particularly bad, I've noticed, between Prisma Ilia and a few of the other series.
Prisma Ilia has an excuse, though, because it's a totally different universe where the Holy Grail Award just didn't happen.
Yeah, and some of the older Kara no Kyokai movie subs are particularly really bad. The Crunchyroll ones are awful. And
well, Kara no Kyokai is canonically different. It's a different universe, strictly speaking.
They use
the
different
rules
words
are different.
for they use different words in general for concepts like the root and stuff. They don't call it that. They don't call it Akasha either. Well, they sometimes name it Akasha, but they just outright get it flat wrong in the Crunchyroll translation sometimes, or not flat wrong, but they deviate from what that would normally be called in most English speaking Fate fans' minds right now. So they just kind of broke in consistency with all that stuff. But yeah, just take the Fate universe as you go, and you can correlate stuff in your own head as you pick it up.
And I remember a while back we had a lengthy discussion about demonic beasts, and after following the wiki in circles for like half an hour, we found out that it was a translation error.
Yeah, I was getting really frustrated with that conversation because it was just not making any sense. Yeah, so it's and yeah, be careful of the wiki. There are edit wars, and the Puritans will fight each other nonstop on it the whole way through. So just know what you read on the wiki one day may not be the same the next. But yeah, that's your general fate primer, and I think El Malloy is a fairly good starting point as long as you keep the 2 points we mentioned earlier in mind. I've been enjoying it so far. When I actually feel like sitting down and watching anime again, it'll probably be the first one I chew my way through. Other than that, that's it for my week. Stretch that out a bit longer than I thought I would, but that's okay.
What are we gonna do for the rest of the show now? Did anybody
Well,
check the email box?
I did.
Yeah,
There's
it's
nothing
empty.
there.
Could you write something and put it in the email box?
All right. We got little
Sure.
bits and pieces. We've got name reservations are up for Vanilla WoW or Classic WoW.
Yeah.
So Ari can get XX Dark Forge XX.
Yes.
No.
No. You have to have an active subscription in order to reserve your name, by the way.
I'm not surprised, but I mean, the amongst the things that they have promised is that you will only need one subscription to play both versions of WoW, which is
Yes.
uncommonly generous of Blizzard. But I think it would have looked a little bit too stingy had they not.
Yeah.
I've
Oh.
had Chinese food delivered for me after we finished the show.
Ooh, excellent. Free food.
Apparently, the family went out to go get food while I was doing the show.
I love it when food just appears.
Yeah, they don't normally bring me free food. Anyway, that was a tangent. I got distracted by the
They
thing.
just assume that you can live on Lunchables.
Yeah, or whatever's cheapest at the grocery store.
Lunchables.
Well, they've gotten more expensive recently, so I haven't been buying them as much.
How can they get more expensive? There's nothing in them.
They raised them up to like $3. That's not worth it.
Yeah, considering what's in them, I think you're probably right about that.
Anywho, let's see.
Well, you don't like our discussion about Lunchables?
I don't. We're trying to do something newsworthy. I know there's not a whole lot here.
This is a chillax tangent show at this point because there is nothing to talk about.
Yeah. We've got also the names of, well, who cares about names? The numbers of the servers for Classic WoW. You got 2 Oceanic, 2 RP roleplay servers over on the States, and then you got maybe, let's call
5.
it 13 servers altogether for the Americas.
Yep, 2 RP, 1 RP, 1 RP PvP, 5 PvP servers, and 4 normal servers, fairly evenly divided between Eastern and Pacific time zones.
They are European servers as well, though this article doesn't cover them.
Yeah, and we're not going to be using those, so they're not relevant to us.
Yep.
So yeah, here's where I'm stuck on picking. If I'm just going to play with particularly you two in Classic WoW and nobody else we know is going to play,
Mm-hmm.
I would consider doing an Oceanic server for you guys, since
It'd
I would be
your
also
turn
in
to suffer
America
the lag.
anyway.
They are.
Yeah,
in
since-
America.
Yeah,
So
so
by the-
it's probably going to be more or less the same as if you've ever played on US West. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would not be that big a deal. The only problem with that is if other people want to play, they're going to immediately gravitate towards American stuff, and so I don't know who else is going to be playing with us.
I've got.
I don't-
group
I don't
who
think-
might
I-
jump in, so I'm not sure where they're going to end up.
I don't think anybody's gonna play with us. I think most people have had their fill of World of Warcraft because we stopped playing a while ago.
Long
Yeah.
So
ago.
it's not we're not like
I
in a
could be
state of
playing
profound
World of
suffering.
Warcraft, but on the other hand, here's Final Fantasy 14.
Even after I
yeah.
had one,
I'm tempted to just go back to FF14 to be honest because I know that their content's actually good. I think I want to wait to see how this all shakes down because there's liable to be some kind of uproar when it launches because it's not quite what people thought.
Because Blizzard
Yeah.
can't help
They-
themselves.
Yeah, because they can't keep their paws off, or they've got feel the urge to change things, or they've put aggressive sharding in, or something like that.
and we can afterwards also see how the server communities are starting to shake out.
Yeah,
If
like
we give
I
it some
want
time.
to. I don't want to accidentally end up on Tichondrius, Like that's the sort of thing. Or Manaroth, or
Or
one of
that-
those servers which is entirely packed with complete tools.
Yeah, you don't want to wind up with one of those servers with the guy that's always on the forums going blue please.
Yeah. From what
Or-
I've dug around and had a look, the big thing people are trying to avoid is streamers at the moment.
Yeah. We want to try and dodge all of those.
Yeah, because you're just going to end up with like drowning in people who are basically trying to kiss ass.
It's going to
Like
be
that's the whole reason they're there is to kiss ass.
they're going to be the starters for what were the mega guilds back in the day that would just chain invite everybody. They'll be analogous to that.
And then there's the Twitch thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be a whole new high tech generation of mailbox dancing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're it might be wise to wait. I agree.
Yeah.
The WC Radio guys are going to the RPPVP server Grobulus Horde side.
Bit of an odd
Good,
choice,
that's,
but okay.
That's on the other end of sanity. So they.
Well, I
can-
mean, RPPVP I think is basically splitting the difference between PvP and PvE, because there will some of the people that are out ganking will announce themselves in chat first. So yeah.
Gnomes, om nom 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 nom.
Yeah. Tried the RP server thing very briefly. Never doing that again.
No, because eventually you're going to walk by Goldshire and then just regret your life decisions.
But you're going
But,
to regret your entire existence.
Yeah, nope. Don't want that. So yeah, we will probably wind up on one of the PvE servers for either Pacific Coast or for the Oceania one. So likely Ribulos, but we'll have to see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I really want to see if the thing actually stabilizes and works first. Because honestly, when it comes to MMOs, if I'm going to dump a chunk of time into an MMO, I really want to go back to Final Fantasy first, because the content is apparently amazing, and I have my attachment to World of Warcraft is a pathology. It's an addiction, whereas I play Final Fantasy because I'm fond of it. There's a
Yeah.
big difference there.
I also I want to give the people that'll crop out of the woodwork from my past. That always happens anytime there's a new WoW X pack, because this will happen again with WoW Classic. I'm guessing even worse, where people I haven't talked to in years pop up and be like, "Hey, you playing WoW Classic?" Or "Hey, you playing the new WoW expansion?" "Hey, you should come play on my server," and give all of them time to get bored after a month, and then pick where we're going if we go
Because
through it at all.
they need a tank.
They'll need something.
They need
They'll-
someone to spam Sunder.
Like, hey, it was a lot harder back then, and you used to do it, right? I'm gonna be like, dude, that was over a decade ago. Those spreadsheets are like 4 computers ago.
And
I
now I'm
have
feeling
no
old
idea where
again.
they are now.
I do really want to see how, to what extent is it true that what Blizzard say about Classic, the Blizzard's reason that Classic wouldn't work was because people are so good at World of Warcraft now and have access to so many tools that every encounter is just completely trivial.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I-
lovely. But
That's not entirely bereft of truth. Not entirely bereft of truth. Although
No.
I think that that's an oversimplified viewpoint.
it skims over the major point that players today are conditioned to have infinite accident forgiveness in their play, and the real difficulty of
There's
vanilla
no
WoW,
combat res, guys.
the real difficulty of vanilla WoW was you did it right completely the first time, or you had to wait.
Yeah, it's not like we don't anymore have that situation. One guy died, wipe it up, guys.
Yeah,
For 40 people.
accident forgiveness in vanilla WoW is not a thing. If you blow up the raid and you're the Baron Geddon bomb, that's it. Everybody's got to run back.
But that's the thing, though. We don't know anymore to what extent that was because of the 25% of guys you were carrying who suck balls at the game.
Yeah, because the raids were so big at the time. But
You could hide baddies in a raid because the raid was enormous.
and the raids took so long to organize, and it took so long to get that many people moving, that even the decent players would sometimes zone out at their keyboard and be there, but not be in their head.
Which, if they're a hunter, is fine.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you expect the hunter to be useless.
yeah. So I think we're going to run into a situation where it's a combination of lack of accident forgiveness and lack of attention span that's going to get people harder than anything. Not so much what we would consider raw difficulty and the mechanics. It's just those two things put together are going to murder people.
We shall see.
So it'll be fun to this is gonna be a great experiment if Blizzard doesn't absolutely nuke it like the first month.
Yeah, I think that the big question is, can they resist? Can they resist, or do they have to try and prove to themselves that they haven't wasted the last 10 years of their life?
Yeah.
It's going to be an education either way.
It's going to be hilarious. The most hilarious scenario to me is the WoW Classic server completely blows out of the water current World of Warcraft and continues running for a full solid year, and they just throw their hands up in the air and start releasing Burning Crusade in the same intervals that it came out before. That would be the fantasy best, funniest case scenario.
Oh, no.
So yeah, that's a WoW thing. I guess we can move on to our next topic.
All right.
I'll do this.
We have a
one.
next topic?
It's a do-to-do, but
They're all do-to-dos.
they're all do-to-dos. So the new Shantae game got a trailer,
Yay.
and it got a name, and I think it got a release window somewhere, maybe not mentioned in this article, and it got screenshots, and it looks like they're taking the Half Genie Hero stuff they had before and they were working on, and they've upped the quality of it. Now, hopefully, they fixed the PC performance. Because holy crap, Shantae is not optimized well with the Half Genie Hero game on PC. Every other system works fine, but on PC, it for some reason just runs at a lower frame rate sometimes whenever you do anything.
Yeah. I think there's a Shantae game I missed where you play as all of Shantae's friends for the most part.
That's a side mode in either Half Genie Hero or Pirate's Curse.
I see. More the point, why does it let you play as Bolo? Bolo's useless.
You can play as Roddy Tops.
You can play as Roddy Tops.
You can kick your head around. Roddy Tops is the best name for a zombie, just by the way.
It is a pretty good name.
She's totally not going to eat your brains.
Totally not. She's a friendly zombie.
Just go find other brains for her to eat instead. Her brothers can put it in a brain soup.
Yeah, the Shantae games are a bit silly.
Yeah. Shantae games are always fun. They're very nice chill out games that fit a subgenre I like very much. So I'm always looking forward to them when they come out, because even if they're not super hot, like they're not knocking it out of the park. Like Half Genie Hero had a lot of missteps, but it was still worth the $15.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always a good 10-ish hours at least or more, depending on how big they are.
Yep.
That's that one.
We have the collector's editions announced for Destroy All Humans.
The box, man, the box.
And they come with a box.
In our continuing coverage of collector's editions, and they have continued to list the box as a part of the collector's edition.
Stop. Just stop. No, it's a box.
At this point, I want them to keep doing it because I want them to keep the joke alive.
just do it for the memes.
At this point, just might as well.
Yeah.
There's no stopping them. And the box is pretty big, to be fair.
It is. This is the big version, the $400 version.
That's 35 inches by 15 inches by 15 inches approximately.
Yeah.
That's a big box.
I'm not sure where you're going to keep this box. But it comes with a 60 centimeter, so a 2-foot tall crypto statue, which for some reason has a an editing error on the picture. It's showing the globe he's holding is semi-transparent. It's not. A backpack, which is basically just crypto clinging to your back. And it took maybe 5 minutes for someone to make the obvious JoJo reference out of that. You get a keychain, you get a bunch of lithograms, you get a stress ball toy, you get a box, and you get all the DLC skins.
Yay, DLC skins and a remake.
More importantly, yay box.
Yay box.
Yay
That
box.
is a big box. If it's reinforced cardboard, I wish they would tell me the material these boxes are made out of and how thick the material is.
It's a premium box. Does that help?
Because if it was a good enough box and it was the right material with the right thickness on the right game, it might sway my decision if I could use it as a monitor stand.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe not tall enough unless you turn it sideways, maybe, but. Alternately, you've got the $150 version, which comes with a crypto and the abducting a cow statue, the keychain, the lithographs, the stress toy, the box, and the DLC skins. So really, the $150 is just for that really big statue of crypto.
Yep.
Or alternately, it's for the box. Why? Just why?
We're actually using, like, we're just as bad now because we're actually using the box as a topic because we just don't have anything else.
It's because it's so damn stupid. So yeah, it's I'm gonna play this game. I have no doubts I'm gonna play this game because I love the original ones as a kid, not counting the one that doesn't exist, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be one I'll keep an eye on, but I'm not going to jump on it right away. I'm not a super huge Destroy All Humans fan.
Yeah, it was a fairly niche game, and the games were well received, but just remember that the game was never ever released in any version on the Wii ever. We don't speak of that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to flick through what THQ Nordic has done recently, and if they've got any major gaffes.
Darksiders? Oh, not Darksiders. Yes, Darksiders.
Yeah, Darksiders Genesis is the latest one.
Yes, where you play as War Number 3.
Yeah. So yeah.
Because apparently someone doesn't know how the Horsemen work.
It's okay. They have the big placeholder text in the patch that says "Place DLC content here."
Of course they do.
That was them that did this. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm gonna wait on this one. I don't trust this studio very much. They're not out to get you, but I don't trust their competence.
Yeah, it's more that they've just done dumbs rather than done evils.
They did Titan Quest again
in
2018.
What are you talking about? 18? They released expansion a couple of months ago.
Yeah, they released they released the Titan's Quest something in 2018.
That was the remake, remaster.
I think that was the Wombo Combo edition.
Could have been
for Ragnarok. But yeah, Titan Quest.
One of these days, I will finish that game. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't remember anything we were doing on the Rantathon. I just kind of followed you around because I didn't have a clue what we were doing.
We got up to the Gorgons.
Did we?
We did.
Did we actually kill a boss? I don't remember.
No, we did not kill them, I believe.
Oh.
I remember
Why are we so bad at that game?
Because every time we get anywhere, we suddenly get a new idea for a build and start over.
Yeah, but that's how you're supposed to play those games, isn't it?
Sounds right to me.
Unless you're playing Path of Exile, where the objective is to stand and talk and trade chat forever.
Yeah. Or you're playing early Diablo 3 and your objective is to scam the auction house.
Yeah.
Why did they ruin that genre so badly, man?
We need a good Ludathon isometric game. Standard RPG setting again. I think
Well, I mean, Blizzard need to redeem themselves at this point. Like they're in dire doo-doo at the moment. Like a lot of things have folded, a lot of projects have been cancelled, things are not going the way they want. and their weird single player Overwatch thing is the only thing on the horizon. So
The one that nobody cares
they-
about.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that Overwatch is sort of like, it's not a bad setting to do a proper single player game, but I don't think they'll do it well since they're already shown that they're willing to poison the well for Overwatch by turning it into some kind of twisted woke pageant. But
What, you didn't know Soldier 76 was gay?
I'm not sure that there are any characters that are not like, they don't have some weird intersectionality crap attached to them at this point. I think like Torbjorn might be the only one.
It's okay. According to Blizzard, Zenyatta's a racist.
What?
He does the okay hand sign.
Oh,
poses.
right,
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, he can be forgiven from that since he's also been declared to be agender or something.
Robot Gandhi.
He's a robot.
Yeah, he's a robot. They are saying that because he's a robot, that means that he doesn't fall. He's non-binary as a result. Ironically, for a robot, but
I see. I see.
Did we talk about the guy that got banned from the Borderlands 3 forums on the show for misgendering the robot?
We did not.
no, we didn't.
Because it's so dumb.
But it's so typical of their community management team. Like they're that kind of company now.
Like more than the YouTuber dude, they're getting a lot over that because the coverage on it's a little wonky. But I don't actually care about that. What I care about is that on their community forums, there was a dude, and he said it was just a common normie thread about who you're gonna play when the game comes out. And he mentioned he was gonna play the robot. And he called the robot a he, just talking in the post. Like, oh, I think I'm gonna play him. And some white knight moderator with his head up his own butt so far he can smell his own poop. Like, the dude just comes in and goes, actually, the company identifies, whatever the robot's name is, as they, them, and you need to not misgender them. And starts immediately hiding any post that calls him out for being a woke, I almost swore, a woke person.
The response was immediate and loud.
And the dude's just like, fine, all right. If you're, I did not bring politics into this. You did. After he was accused by the same moderator in a subsequent post of bringing politics into it, he's like, no, you did. So if y'all don't want me as a customer, I'm out. And just peaced out.
Mm-hmm. Can't blame the guy.
Like, I'm totally behind that. Go for it, dude. That is the right decision.
It's just so stupid.
Yeah. So the moderator's name was Takasi97. Oh, he wasn't born in 97, was he? Please tell me no.
I hope
Please
not.
tell me no.
I feel
What are we talking about?
Ow.
Like, a moderator on these forums was not born in 97. I don't believe it. Even if it's true, it's not true. I refuse to accept this reality. I'm gonna borrow from the woke playbook for a minute and just completely throw it out.
But that would only put him in his 20s.
Yeah.
I know, but I just don't. It's more a reflection of I was around for quite a while and have memories of the time that existed before he was born. And he's in a position of power to throw people off of an official game forum. No, that makes me feel old. Make it stop.
And now we feel ancient. Well done.
What? What are you saying?
Get off my lawn.
Alright, do we have any other bits of news?
Oh, we sure tried to have other bits of news.
We tried.
The other thing, there's nothing even to say about the other thing I threw in there. It's just somebody robbed a game store and stole a safe of a bunch of rare games.
Yeah. There's nothing really to say about that.
Oh, after I did the first news troll, I went back for a second pass and just started chucking stuff in the show host thread. And I only managed to find like 3 things, and one of them was the Shantae announcement. So we didn't have anything.
Alright, in that case,
man.
we should probably start wrapping up.
Yep, we
Yeah.
managed to make it 2 hours and 15 minutes without tangent. So
I'm trying to think of something, but there just ain't anything.
yeah, we'll have to see. I imagine once September hits and I get back from my trip, we should have a break in the news cycle with a whole bunch of new games to talk about. So that'll probably be when it picks back up. Next week could just be just as dry. We don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
I heard that they were making a new Rock of Ages. Finn likes that, doesn't he?
I do like that game. It's so wonderfully stupid. The
I
whole
don't know
idea
anything
is
about
roll
it.
a big rock down a hill.
There's a new Saints Row being made.
Wait, what now?
I don't know how they're going to top the previous one, but
Yeah, the
in
series
terms of
was...
absurdity.
It kind of hit a high point and finished at 4.
I think it hit
Yeah.
it at 3. TBH.
Yeah, I didn't
yeah.
play 4, but I felt like from what I saw of 4 that they had taken it about half a step too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we reached the peak level of stupid and fun at 3 with the balance it had.
Yeah, at that point there was no more piss left to take.
Yeah, I have Saints Row 4 somehow.
Yeah, so
Sitting
do
in my
I,
thing.
but I never actually played it because I was pretty much satisfied with 3. Like the having that guy with the the tail butt plug attached pulling you in a cart down the road. Like, how do you get more ridiculous than that? And
I forgot about that.
at the point where you're trying to top it, you're starting to try too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End up going
It's,
aliens and superpowers.
It's a thing. I think actually Saints Row 3, because at the time SWTOR came out, it was like stupid expensive in your area for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I went and got you a physical copy at my local game store. I'm like, oh, can you just buy me something on Steam? I don't really care. I'll wait for something to go on sale. And I think I had you give me Saints Row 3 as the game that you got me to make up for it.
Could be. But I really
think-
enjoyed 3, but I felt like I'd got what I needed out of it, sort of. And then when it's like, oh well, you can kill people with wubstep, it's like, yeah, guns were fine.
I admit I never actually use the wubstep setting on that gun. I always use the polka setting.
That sounds way funnier.
It is
That sounds way better.
hilarious.
I like if they had stuck to a polka weapon, it wouldn't have seemed like trying too hard. But because wubstep was popular at the time, it came across like, look at us being relevant.
This
Do you
is what
remember-
the kids are into.
The thing with wubstep is that it's super dated now. Like that was a flash in the pan musical fad.
It was terrible then too.
And Saints Row 4 was supposed to be set in the future, so it didn't make sense. They were just dating themselves. It's like just like when people decide that they need to quote localize unquote gags about Gamergate into the script of an anime. It's like you're just dating yourself there. Although, to be fair to those people, Gamergate never ended, since the New York Times recently, like this past week, posted 4 op-eds about it.
Good grief, really?
Yes, really.
Speaking of Gamergate, well,
You have
Gamergate
to.
Gamergate effectively tied with the people it was fighting, and no headway was made or really lost.
Well, I think they
Comicsgate
established.
lost.
I think that they established a precedent that there is a battle to be fought, and you can actually fight.
Yeah, but if AnimeGate is winning and Gamergate tied, after this week, Comicsgate is dead and lost.
Yeah, Comicsgate is lost.
And
Like-
the thing is, everybody has a different story about why. Like the fine details are different depending on who tells it.
And it was, for those that don't know what happened this week, the cringiest show in the world happened on Nick Rekieta's stream with Ethan Van Sciver and Doug TeNavel. I never want to see two 55-year-old men who are both clearly aware they don't know what the heck they're talking about screaming at each other ever again.
That sounds hilarious.
Honestly, I think that the one and only problem here is that the both of them are too egotistical and proud to talk it out properly. And that's all that there is to it.
Yeah, Doug came off just as he did not know how to present an argument for the bits I could stomach. It was just chucking his personal beliefs out there at Ethan, and went full full based anti-gay, mega conservative on him, and Ethan Van Sciver was just mad that Doug wouldn't conform to his view of how people in Comicsgate should behave because Doug didn't want to be a part of Comicsgate because he has a franchise that he cares more about than comics themselves.
Yeah, well, I can't say that I'm terribly surprised that like these two figures. It just so happens that before Comicsgate was ever a thing, the both of them were already under a huge amount of pressure and criticism. Like the reason why they ended up such central figures is quite literally because they were ground zero, and so they from the get go were both super prepared to switch into ultimate defense mode, and basically that impulse got discharged within the movement.
And yeah, the explosion on, I think it was Wednesday night when this happened, it was so cringy. I felt awful from the bits I listened to, and it was bad. Even Tug got dragged into this because he's been helped out by Ethan Van Sciver a lot, so he ran to his defense. I'm like, no, not you, Tug.
Why you got to run to people's defense? They're big boys.
Like, it was just a really emotionally charged little, we'll call it a discussion. It was a slap fight is the more accurate descriptor.
Yeah, then that's the thing. Like, do these guys not know they look like snotty high school girls?
I don't know. When I asked that question on the forums, they got 1 billion upvotes, and I agree. I don't know why the heck they did this either. Responses.
Like, I could understand. Like, I actually credit Nick with what he was trying to do. He thought that if he provided a neutral forum, they could get it out of their system. But neither of them were willing to call it done at any point.
Yeah, it was painful. I'll send you the post I made about it later. But it's
I can't go to the farms.
I know, I have to print screen it.
I live in a police state.
Yeah, so I'll print screen that later. But it's a mess. That was a abject disaster. So unfortunately, that's why we didn't have any Vic stuff we could fill time with, because the whole Nick week, who is our main source of this, was kind of overshadowed by the EVS Doug Tenable slap fight.
Although to be fair, the Thai stream was pretty legendary.
It was the best quote of all time that I crack up every time I think about now is, wait, so people can pay you to do graffiti on your face? And Nick just goes, yes, in the bluntest way possible. And Ty goes, God, I love America.
Yep. All right.
So,
well, seeing as though my game has just crashed again, I'm not going to fire it up again.
So yeah, I think we've stretched as long as we can stretch. We should wrap it up.
All right. So, lesson learned: when building an asteroid space station, don't fill everything with water.
Why would you do that?
Because apparently I forgot that certain blocks corrode. So everything got moist.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would a fully aquatic spacefaring species, when they have to set up a space station, they have some pretty hefty issues to deal with. The amount
Weight
of pressure.
for once. Pressure. Yeah.
Weight's not really much of a problem for transporting things through space once you get them outside the gravity well of your home planet. But
yeah, it's getting it up there that's the hard part. That is, of course, assuming you can stop it from freezing.
Oh dear.
So yeah, the logistics of fish people in space. What were we doing?
We were closing the show because we're done.
Yeah. All right, folks. Closing comments go.
Fish
no
people in space.
I need to go to the bathroom.
I hope there's stuff to do this week. Please don't be another production this week. I'll lose my mind.
When's Gamescom supposed to be on? Maybe somebody will manage to cough up something. Dang it.
A few weeks away, isn't it?
Oh, come on.
Isn't it not working?
20 to 24 August.
Okay, so next week.
Okay. And I will have the week I will actually not be here nailed down. next week. So y'all will know when I will not be here. So y'all can prep for the Marshmallow and Frog show. Both the show hosts and the Serathus and Missy know who listen to the show.
But Ari, if you're not here, the average age of the show goes up.
no. I don't
Take
want to
us
think
out.
about. I
Yeah,
don't want to
that's
think about how removing the person that's been around for 3 decades makes the average age go up.
Yeah, you're the baby. You're the baby of the group.
Oh, good lord. Oh. Anyway, we'll see y'all next week. Sayonara, bye bye.